Go ahead and pour your tea because tonight's story starts in the Appalachian Mountains at summer camp and ends with something smiling in the window. So grab your favorite tea and settle in, and let me tell you another scary story that happened in the Appalachian Mountains because, of course, this is Tea After Midnight. Always good tea. This story comes from Katie. Growing up here, I always thought that the things people warned you about could only come out at night. I have since learned that is not the case. It doesn't matter what time of day it is, the creatures that lurk in the forest are always watching. This story happened when I was 15. My parents signed me up to go to this church camp for a week in the summer. I really didn't want to go, but I found out one of my friends from school was going, so I figured it wouldn't be bad. Erin and I didn't really hang out all the time. We just knew each other from a few classes and we would talk here and there, so I considered her to be a friend. Well, the time came for the summer camp and we were told to meet in the church parking lot at 8 a.m. and a bus would take us to the camp. I showed up and immediately saw Erin standing there by herself. I walk over to her and try to make small talk, and after a few minutes we were told to load onto the bus so we could leave. The camp was only an hour away, which felt like a quick drive since Erin and I talked the whole way. We arrived and they started separating the girls and boys and showing us where we would be sleeping. The cabins were fairly nice. For it being a cabin in the woods used for a kid's summer program, they were in decent shape. Erin and I got a bunk bed off the corner of the room next to the window. The one thing about this place was it didn't have air conditioning. They had these ceiling fans that did work, so that was a plus, but we wanted to be by the window in case we needed to lift it if we got hot. And you don't have to tell me not to open the window at night, because after what happened to me and Erin, I won't ever do it again. The first day and night were fine. We went out and played games and swam in the lake and then finished up the day by the fire. We slept fine, and in the morning we got dressed and headed out to get breakfast. While we were all eating, the pastor told us what we would be doing that day. He told us we would be going on a nature walk, and let's chalk this up to what it actually was. We went hiking. It was so hot that day and Erin and I were falling behind, so we ended up at the back of the group. We were trying our best to keep up with the rest of the group, but Erin stopped to drink her water and catch her breath. I stopped with her because I didn't want her to be by herself. We only stopped for about 2 minutes, but the group was no longer in sight. I told Erin we needed to start catching up with them or we would get left behind. She agreed, and as she bent down putting her water bottle in her drawstring bag, we heard something like a branch snap in the woods beside us. Erin looked a little startled, but I told her it was probably a deer or something and that we should go. We jogged down the trail and finally caught up to the group, and I kept looking over at Erin to make sure she was okay, but I could tell that she felt really uncomfortable. We get to a stopping point and the pastor tells us to pair up because we were doing a scavenger hunt. Of course, Erin and I paired up and the pastor hands us a list of items we need to get. He set a timer for 15 minutes and told us not to go too far, and when we got our items to meet back there so we could see who won. The list was random things like 1 rock, 2 pine cones, 3 big leaves, so on and so forth. Erin and I split off from the group. I was looking on the ground for the items on the list when I heard what sounded like crying and sniffling. I turn around and look at Erin, and she is actively sobbing. I walk over to her and put my hand on her shoulder and ask her what's wrong. She told me that she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. I asked her what she meant, and she said she didn't know, that she just felt like something was wrong and that she felt like something was watching her. I asked her if she wanted to head back to the cabin, and she said yes. I went and found one of the chaperones and they took Erin back to the cabin. I stayed with the group, and after the scavenger hunt, we finished our nature walk and got back to the camp. After dinner, we were supposed to roast marshmallows, so I went to the cabin to see if Erin wanted to come out there. When I go in there, I didn't see her in her bed. The window was open, and when I looked outside, I could see her standing by the lake. I walked down there and I asked her if she was okay, but she didn't respond to me. I got closer and I touched her shoulder and said, "Hey, are you okay?" But when I touched her shoulder, she felt really cold. Without turning her head, she said she was fine. I asked if she wanted to come and roast marshmallows, and she just said no. I thought maybe she wanted to be by herself, so I walked back up to the cabin to go grab her a jacket because she felt so cold. As soon as I opened the door to the cabin, I can see Erin laying in bed. I got so freaked out, I ran over to the window and looked outside and did not see anyone standing down there at the lake. There was no possible way she was down there, then back in the cabin that quickly without me seeing her go past me. At that point, I thought I was losing my mind. I looked at Erin and said, "Were you just down at the lake?" She said, "No, I was in the bathroom." I told her I just saw her down at the lake, and when I touched her shoulder, she felt really cold, so I come up here to get her a jacket, but she's sitting right here. Erin looked very frightened, which matched my expressions exactly. I decided to stay in there with her because I didn't want to be out there with whatever I just saw. I sat on the bed next to her, and we just talked about what it could have possibly been that I saw, but of course we didn't have an explanation. After a while, the rest of the girls started to come in and get ready for bed. I climbed up on the top bunk above Erin, and the girl that was in the bed next to us closed the window before she got into bed. I eventually fell asleep, but in the middle of the night, I had to get up to go to the bathroom. I was only in there for a few minutes, and when I came out, I noticed that the window next to our bed was open. But everyone in that room was sound asleep, so I figured Erin or the girl in the bed next to us had opened it. But after what I saw earlier that night, I closed the window. I climbed back up on top of the bunk and turned facing the wall. As soon as I covered myself up, I heard what sounded like the window sliding open. I roll over and look down, and I will never forget what I saw. I see Erin standing outside of the cabin, pushing the window up to open it. But that was not Erin, because I tilted over the side and looked underneath my bed and saw Erin sleeping below me. I looked back at the window, and the thing pretending to be Erin was standing there, staring at me and smiling. I then started to hear crying from below me. The thing outside the window looked over at Erin and reached in through the window to try and grab her. Erin started screaming, which woke everyone in the cabin up, and the thing outside ran off. I jumped down from the top bunk, slammed the window shut and locked it, and got in Erin's bed with her, hugging her. The chaperones come over to ask what was going on, and we told them exactly what we saw because Erin saw it too. Of course, they didn't believe us, and they had us call our parents to come pick us up in the middle of the night. Which honestly, there was no complaint from us because we knew what we saw, and it was absolutely terrifying, and we didn't want to spend one more night there with whatever that was. Erin and her family ended up moving that summer, and I've not gotten to talk to her since that night. As I've gotten older, I've done some research on what it was that we saw, and the best answer I can come up with is a mimic. I remember this so vividly, even though it happened 20 years ago. I will absolutely never forget how much that thing resembled Erin and how terrified I was after that night. But I can only imagine how scared Erin was seeing something that looked just like her. I wholeheartedly believe what they saw was a mimic because it not only looked like her, but it sounded just like her too. And what's even more terrifying is that Erin felt like something was watching her while they were in the woods hiking. So there's no telling how long that thing was actually following her, trying to imitate what she looked like and sounded like. I have full body chills because that is absolutely terrifying that something not only looked and sounded like her, but tried to grab her through the window. That is actually terrifying. You guys let me know in the comments if you think it's something different than a mimic, but after everything that I read, I believe it was a mimic. But that does conclude this episode of Tea After Midnight. If you have any personal scary stories you want to share, it does not have to be about the Appalachian Mountains. It can be any scary story that you have. If you want to send it to me, you can email me, which the email will be right here on the screen, or I'll also put it in the caption of this video. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I hope you have the best night, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.